Space. The final frontier. These are your adventures as you explore, seeking out new life and civilizations. Expanding your borders and exploiting the resources you find. Befriending allies or exterminating foes that get in your way.
Contact detected entering sector. Configuration unknown. Assessing. Initiating countermeasures.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Star Trek New Worlds. Let me know if you can hear me nice and clear. The readings are green. The sound is good. Let's get going. What are we talking about today? Well, we have a conglomeration of breaking news events to be able to share with you, the highlight of which is the Borak migration, transportation, infiltration of Paravian space. As you will hear in our news items to follow, is this a relocation, merger and acquisition, or perhaps a dislocation of folks? You might think of the collapse of the Bronze Age with the Sea People. Are the Borak the space people of the, 23rd century? We shall have to see. If you are first-timer here and thinking, oh my God, Tony, what are you talking about? And what is Star Trek New Worlds? It is a turn-based strategy game that we play here online with you, inspired by the rules of Federation Empire as published by the Amarillo Design Bureau, and the magic of a map that you will see here shortly is produced through Vassal. So, with that said, and here we go, why don't we roll into the latest and greatest of turn 65, and we can see where we are when it comes to the economies of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our actuarial chart of the game. As you can see here, we have grown to the point in turn 65 where we have exceeded the leftmost portion of our scale. That's right. We have projected. We have reached escape velocity when it comes to this graph. And as you can see, as we go through the list, you will note that there are some big movers on this table. You can see the Tholians are still riding the pine with 62.5, with the Lyrans right behind them, or I should say right above them, at 63.5. The Borak still creeping around that 65 mark, around 65 and a half. The Hydrants noticeably ahead, along with the ISC at 67 and a half. The Kzinti steadily increasing over time at a sweet 74. 86 and a half is the Federation's income. I apologize. I should have relocated the Federation and the Paravians. The Paravians are only at 85, and we'll talk about why that is the case. The Carnivons at 98, and of course the Klingons at 114.5. Whoa! That was a big increase from last turn, and we'll show you why. So, as you can see on the graph, the Klingons in black have had a number of hockey stick type improvements in their economy. Very impressive to see, very curious to note their periodic and phased exponential growth. As we know, they are at MTech right now, which is the sort of major milestone for the middle era of technology when it comes to Federation Empire. That is going to have a significant impact on their ability to explore new space successfully and therefore expand their borders. The Carnivon have sort of plateaued economically, but that's because, as you will see, they are engaged in a war and they are currently dominating the target of their ire. The Paravians, you can see the orange line took a big dip. That's because of what's happening with the migration, shall we say. And other than that, you can see the rest of the lines there steadily increasing and or fluctuating as the case may be. No big changes other than that. Let's slide back. So let's take a quick dip into the chat and say who's who, or see who's who in the zoo. We've got, of course, Bill Smitty is in the house. Come all ye players and say hello and be welcome, or taste delicious plasma fire. Yes, Devin Dean is in the house. Lost Masquerade is here. Hoorah! What do we got here? Devin Dean, we hear you, he says. Good. Nice, clear, and set. If you have been following the live stream over the past couple of live streams or episodes, you'll notice having some audio issues. And the audio interface that I've been using for the past, 4 years, for whatever reason, was no longer reliably working with my computer, my operating system. And I don't know if it's a firmware thing in the sense that there was no firmware update, but regardless, technical issues aside, there is a need to get a new audio interface device. So I'm playing with one right now. It's called the Mackie DLZ Creator XS. I'm not sure how good it is, but you'll have to tell me how my audio sounds, how clear it is, or how muffled it may be. You let me know, and whether this is something I should stick with or maybe switch to something else. You let me know. Okay. Eugene says, Borak through the wormhole, how long will they be able to keep it open before the trifecta of foes, the trifecta of foes closing access to their escape? Will it be long enough to establish a foothold strong enough? I don't know. We'll have to see. George Forknell says, strategic rebranding of the Borak product line. There's more to that coming our way. Lon Jerome is in the house. Hey, all. Audio is good, but your transitions have an echo. Oh, the transitions have an echo. Huh. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Transitions have an echo. Huh. You'll have to let me know how strong that echo is. I'll have to check it out afterwards. Is it a significant echo? Is it strong and long? Or is it just a slight thing? We'll have to check that out. I don't know what might be causing that, but we'll have to see. All right. With that said, let's get into the latest and greatest of what we're talking about. And what are we talking about today? You let me know if there's echo on that. Audio is good, but your transitions have an echo. It is very short, says Lost Muskrat. Okay, so I can only assume I'll have to tweak with the settings afterwards. I don't know that I can troubleshoot that on the live stream right now. But when we're talking about war, we have 10 factions in this game. Until recently, the Carnivon, the Borak, the Lyrans, and the ISC were all in conflict. And as of last turn, or maybe 2 turns ago now, we have a 5th component to that onslaught of aggressiveness, and that is the Paravians. Now, granted, the Paravians are merely a victim of Borak infiltration, but nonetheless, this is stuff that is happening in the game. We formally have half of all the factions at some degree of conflict and certainly at war status. So let's see what that looks like as we get forward. But before we go too far into talking about numbers and so on, clearing my throat ever so slightly, we need to get to, that's right, the galactic news. That's right. Welcome to GNN Galactic News. If it's not true, we're not telling. All that glitters. In a major coup for the Klingon diplomatic corps, the independent world of Latinum has joined the Empire. This major world had a heavy cultural and economic influence on the southern reaches of Klingon space. At the same time, the Gorn world of football has established commercial trade with Klinshai. Analysts say that these worlds will play a key role in supplying the further expansion of the Empire and much-needed income to pay for the Empire's modernized but expensive military. Hydron, there. How you doing? Hydron expansion and exploration is proceeding at breakneck pace. Of particular note is the northern arm of exploration, which appears to be marching up the eastern border of the galaxy. Are they racing to claim the vast eastern regions near the Federation? Is a conflict for living space looming on the horizon? Or is this part of a secret and unknown border agreement that has yet to appear on official maps? What's that? Well, I'm hearing we're getting a word from our sponsor. Being an honorable warrior of the Empire isn't an easy job. There are territories to terrorize, tribbles to torture, and targs to train. Thank the Emperor there is Kaplager, the Thirst Exterminator. After a long day of raising the honor of your house, it's time to raise a glass of refreshment, and you have a powerful thirst. Do you think it can be bested by blood wine, weakened by warnog, purged by prune juice? Wrong, you servile patag. Kaplag Lager is the only drink you need to ensure your glory to your evening. Kaplager. Does it have a smooth finish? Of course not. Is it a pleasant taste on the tongue? Don't be foolish. Is this a warrior's beverage? Shut up and drink it. Only Kaplager, the Thirst Exterminator, has the glory you need to send your thirst to Stovokor. Kaplager is a registered trademark of the Borak Incorporated Empire. The BIE is not responsible for the excessive consumption, enjoyment, or pleasure customers may experience while consuming Kaplager. Side effects include gregarious singing of Klingon opera, a lust for battle boasting, hand-to-hand combat, and a disruptor dueling. Good time. And we return to the headlines. A calm in the storm. On all three fronts, it seems the invasion of Borak space has taken a pause. Carnarvon, Lyran, and ISC ships continue to mass on the border, leading us to wonder if this is a build-up to the final hammer blow or is something else afoot. Either way, these are uncertain times for the corporation known to some as Big Blue. Birds of a feather. The Borak invasion of Paravian space seems to be accelerating. Several Paravian exploration and construction vessels have been destroyed, along with a base station. So much of their navy has transited the wormhole, it seems the Borak are relocating wholesale to a new territory across the galaxy. Perhaps they were invited by the Paravians to find a new home. Or do they think they can pull off a reincorporation if they reach across the region and replace the roster of rightful rulers to resurrect their reign? Neither military command was available for comment. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been our Galactic News. Oh, yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what did you think of our latest and greatest sponsor, Kaplager? That's right. The brew that will bring you great fortune and honor. Cheers. All right, my friends. Quick little bit of admin, and then we shall carry on with getting to know what's going on in the map and the latest and greatest. So as I mentioned before, some slight audio changes on the technical side for here on the show. So if you hear things like, for example, a little echo in those transitions, you let me know, and then I can troubleshoot them after the fact. Also, if it seems as though I might be less precise or clear in my enunciation, there is a slight change to my oral arrangement. So as of 2 days ago, I got myself something called Invisalign. Long story short, it's braces for adults. So I've got these plastic trays in my mouth, which make it a little bit harder to talk. And so as a result, I might not be enunciating as clearly as previously. But give me a week or two and I'll get used to it. It'll all be fine. As you can see, I'm trying to straighten out the bottom teeth there. And of course, I got a top and bottom, and I got to keep them in 22 hours a day. It's pretty insane. Why do I share that with you? Not only because of my enunciation, but I will no longer be able to drink coffee live and true here on the show. Now, previously, you would send a photon fire of coffee goodness from that QR code or the link in the corner, and I would take a sip of that fine elixir of life that we know as coffee. Oh, just the thought of it makes me salivate. No, I can't have it anymore, at least not while I'm on the live stream. I can only drink water. So instead of the elixir of life we know as coffee, I shall be drinking this new brew of H2O goodness straight out of the best chalice with which to consume such a delightful beverage. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, a perfect example has appeared for me to take a quick sip and to show what is going on. Ladies and gentlemen, let me... That's right. You too can get your own New Worlds glass over at stnewworlds.com. Check it out on the YouTube channel. The link is right there. All right. Let's just see. Big slow target. I actually just finished my Invisalign last week. Took a long time, but still worth it. Buy a $25 ultrasonic cleaner. We'll have to have more chit-chats about that. And it looks like Lost Muskrat was the firer of the photon. Thank you, sir, for the latest and greatest liberation of my larynx with its lubricating elixir. All right, let's move on to the exciting and delighting aspects of the map. Shall we slide in? Yes, let's. Here we go. Welcome to the map. Now, we talked about EP and where everyone's economy is, so to speak. Let's talk about fleet cap and where the fleets are. So as you can see here, the Borak leading the pack just because alphabetically that they're at the top. Borak has a total ship equivalent of... let me try that again. They have 86 total ships in their fleet with 174 attack factor, 377 defense with a fleet cap of 381. Remember, difference in defense factor and fleet cap usually indicate crippled ships. So you can see there's some crippled ships in there. In fact, you can poke. There's one just right over here. What else we got here? Carnarvon. So the Carnarvon have 158 ships. Oh my God. Almost double the Borak at this point. 343 attack, 623 defense. Whew. With 643 in their fleet cap. The Federation with 76 total ships floating about in deep space. Excuse me. They have 165 attack factor, 300 defense with a fleet cap of 303. The Hydrants, remember, the explorers of the Deep East, they are currently floating around with 70 ships in their fleet, 154 attack, 298 defense, fleet cap of 300. Taking a quick wipe of these glasses so I can read what I'm doing. The ISC have 64 ships in their fleet with a total attack factor of 157, 285 defense, fleet cap 291. The Klingon Empire, the greatest military might in the world, in the galaxy, and their economy blowing everybody out of the water. They have 108 ships in their fleet, 294 attack, 477 defense with a fleet cap of 513. Keep in mind, they are intentionally keeping a large number of F4s crippled so that when they repair them, they will strategically move wherever it is they want them to go. The Kzinti have a total of 65 ships, 150 attack, 267 at defense, tying their fleet cap. The Lyrans have a 85 total fleet count. Let me try that again. 85 total ships, there we are, with 199 attack. Notice that's a very similar number to the Borak, 86 for the Borak, 85 for the Lyrans. And note how much more the attack factors are for the Lyrans, with 199 versus the 199 attack, 374 defense, with their fleet cap at 384. There's a lot of ships there that are crippled, and once they're fully operational, the disparity between the attack factors of the Lyrans and the Borak are going to be quite interesting to see. when they're so similar in total ship count. Very interesting. Okay, we did the Lyrans. We got the Paravians. Paravians have a total of 37 ships now in their fleet. 103 is their total attack factor. 195 defense. We don't have any Remans or Romulans as far as player factions. We have the Tholians at the bottom of our list with a total of 81 ships. 138 attack, 363 defense, matching their fleet cap. And that's the roundup of fleet cap so far. So what do we see with that? We see that over the past couple of live streams, if you've been following, you will notice that the Borak have been not exactly exponentially, but definitely climbing aggressively. For those of you who are on our Discord channel, and of course players who are observing from a distance here, throw those numbers, go back over the live streams and find out the fleet cap numbers, throw those in a graph. Let's show the audience the climbing of attack and defense factors. I know you guys have been doing it. The climb of attack and defense factors to see the escalation of combat capability for these different fleets or these different factions in the game. It'll be very interesting to see how that sort of plays up, especially with the Borak sort of in Paravian space at this time and seeing how that sort of evolves. But I digress, my friends. Let's slide my head over to the other side and let's start with talking about our good friends, the Klingons. Again, the Klingons are at M-Tech. As a reminder, there are 4 technological milestones in this game. The first that you start off at is W. These are the early eras of technology when it comes to Federation and Empire. The 4 tech levels are W, Y, M, and GW. Why W and Y? That's a great question, and I can't answer it. That's just how it comes up in the in the material. So anyways, W era. And this is sort of a caveat. Depending on which faction you play, Romulans by example, start off in the S era, which is the pre-warp era or pre-tactical warp era. They have ships that can move at warp speed, but can't sort of combat and tactically move at warp speed. That's the Romulans. So that's the S era. Then the W era is where most other factions begin the game, and that is sort of, for a good way to think about it, it's sort of like Star Trek Enterprise. It's not a clear connection there, but if you want to think about the milestones of technology and where things go, Warp 5, we'll call it, is W era. And so ships in the W era typically have lower attack and defense factors, but can move 3 hexes on the map. Then you've got the Y era, which is another early era, but it moves on to the next milestone. And those ships, the big difference is their attack factors go up ever so slightly in their defense factors. You'll notice the beginnings of some specialty capabilities, like, for example, with the Carnivons, the Heel Nippers, and so on. And you will note that they can move a total of 4 hexes as opposed to 3. Then we get the M era, which is referred to as the middle era. Some people, like myself, have sometimes referred to it as the modern era. But that is very much the Captain Kirk, well, no, that's more like the Christopher Pike era, the early Enterprise era of Star Trek. So this is squarely in the realm of, shall we say, early TOS, and the first generation of ships that will come out. For example, the CAM it's referred to, CA being the designation for a heavy cruiser, M being the designation for a middle era heavy cruiser. And that's a 7 attack, 8 defense ship for the Federation by example. And that's sort of like the early era Constitution. Then as you move that into the next milestone era, which is the General War referring to in the tabletop Federation and Empire game, that's the war that you're fighting on that map. Like Risk, it's the map that you're playing, or it's Axis and Allies. Pick your tabletop war game. That's what you're playing. You're playing that in the General War. So again, to recap, W, Y, M, and GW were the 4 milestones. And as you go further up, the attack factors increase and the capabilities ensue. The Klingons in this game have reached the M era of technology. Now, as they progress through M era, in the sense that they've reached the milestone and they have a certain number of ships they can produce right now, they can produce the D6M. As I bump into my microphone, D6M. The D6M is the early era heavy cruiser for the Klingons. When you think of the D6M, think of Kirk encountering Klingon warships in in TOS. That's kind of what we're looking at. Now, there is a D7 that comes a little later, but the D6M is very similar to what you'll see in TOS. So D6M, and they are paired with a early era hyper-powered attack frigate known as the E4M? I think it's E4M. And they are also, they're overpowered. They have a 4 attack, 3 defense, which is sort of the reverse of many other frigates of that era. And then later in an M era, they'll get D7s and F5s, which the D7 is the Katinga class. That is the Cadillac of Klingon battle cruisers that you will think of in Star Trek VI, by example, and those kinds of ships. So, anywho, all that to say, that's where that sits. And I can see lots of chat here. So a couple of interesting things here. Chuck says, W is warp, early M, medium, GW, Great War, also sublight. Big Slow Target says, P equals pathetic. Okay. Let me go back to the screen here so we can see what's going on. Let's slide back in here. Okay, so eras, Daniel says, eras are about the invention and use of tactical warp, the ability to go faster than light during combat. You'll remember, maybe, in some of the old school Shatner-esque TOS episodes, they're fighting, especially ones where, I'm trying to remember, there was it a Tholian ship they were fighting? There was definitely a Gorn ship at one point. Anyways, there are lots of examples of them fighting these battles at warp, and Kirk giving commands about, coming to this heading and then increasing speed to warp factor, whatever. So that's the difference here, is that they're fighting battles at warp speed. And this is a little counterintuitive because when you watch a lot of Star Trek, a lot of these battles, like think of Wrath of Khan, Star Trek VI, even a lot of the TNG episodes, all the battles you see are in sublight speeds, like impulse power. So it's a little counterintuitive. But that's how the battles occur in the context of this game. They're happening at warp, not sort of when you think of the movies or the television shows of the TNG and after. It's very different. So anyways, hopefully that helps. Let's see here. Daniel says, W is warp refit, sublight ships with warp engines attached, low power and primitive systems. Y is the early years, the first ships built from the hull up for warp. M is middle years, Kirk time period. New technologies like phasers, photons, transporters, tractors reach their zenith, and ships become familiar in the sense of what we would recognize. And the general war, rapid period of advancement driven by huge warlike World War II-esque technological advances. So as I think about it, like the early era, so M, the introduction of M is like Christopher Pike in the Cage, for example. It's the Constitution, but it's an early version of the Constitution. The Constitution's gotten refits as it goes along. Depending on your vintage, if you're like a FASA fan or the original cast movie series from 1 to 6, the movie era Constitution, depending on your flavor here, was redesignated the Enterprise class in recognition of the Enterprise, not a refit Constitution. If you were following the FASA and sort of movie timeline. And the reason why they did that, obviously, is because of, for those of you who are not familiar, IP in Star Trek is a tangled web and multi-headed dragon, a hydra of sorts that every time you try and deal with one particular IP, other things pop up and make your life a mess. So they created the motion picture Enterprise as a way to refresh, of course, the Enterprise, but also it created a different sort of IP vintage. Ooh, mysterious antagonist firing a photon. Here we go. And so that goes. But the movie Enterprise that you see from Star Trek 1 to 6 can often be referred to as the refit Constitution or the Enterprise class. That is not a ship that is that ties in with what we're playing. If it were to, it would be in the late GW era, and it would be like a fast ship or a special ship that would be like an advanced thing, as opposed to, for example, the Excelsior, which was at the time of Star Trek what was it? 3? In Star Trek 3, the Excelsior was an experimental ship, an X ship, not a production class vessel as of yet. And so that's something that would be outside the realm of Federation Empire. As I see it, if you think I'm wrong, please correct me, throw it in the chat, throw it in the comments, and away we go. But anyways, that helps give a context for those of you who are perhaps not going down the rabbit hole with this particular gentleman named Alice around all things Star Trek. So that's how I see it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's jump back into the map. All right. So as we can see, the Klingon Empire, as we zoom in one more time, we can see that we got the D6Ms. We got a couple of those on the western border. We got another 2 that have been produced over here. There were a couple that were heading down this way somewhere, and I'm sure if I look for them hard enough, I will find them probably in fleets somewhere. Let's take a look at Blue Fleet for S and Gs. Shits and giggles for those who are following at home. Blue Fleet, right. There we are, Blue Fleet. Boom. Okay, just a bunch of F4s, no particular D6s. What about Green Fleet? What does Green Fleet got? Green Fleet is a Martok fleet, and it's got no D6Ms. Did you put a D6M up here? No. Now it's a game of hide and go seek as we're trying to find where did all these guys go? Oh my goodness. Northwest Fleet. Maybe I can find a Northwest Fleet. Boom. No. Okay. Well, I can honestly say I don't know where it is, but I feel like there's at least one more D6 out there somewhere. But we have 4 of them hovering around the west coast of space of the Klingon Empire. As you heard, there were more trade routes that were established. So you can see Footfall has established this Klingon. That's the new term now. It's not Gorn, it's not Klingon, it's Klingon. They love glitter. What can I say? All that glitters is gold. Oh my God. Terrible. Okay, so Footfall has established another trade route here to Clinchai. Ironically, the Borak had originally claimed that they were the commercial masters of the universe, and yet very clearly the Klingons are the demonstrated masters of this particular form of material management. So as we go, Blingons, there we are, Dell says. All right. So we got 2nd Squadron, Joint Task Force Alpha. That just sounds exciting. Joint Task Force. Yes, C4. That's a dreadnought for those of you who are following at home. The C4 is a 6.8. That's a very standard profile for a dreadnought in the Y era. Got a cruiser and a couple of escort destroyers, the F4s. So that's just sitting there in Task Force Alpha. Let's take away the ships real quick and we can see what bases are being built. He says. But you say to me, but Tony... This is my best Kyle Hill impression. But Tony, why is he building the bases on the border? That's terrible accent, I know. It's my terrible southern accent. Jeez Louise. Stop embarrassing yourself, Tony. Okay, 98 fall. I feel like that is a 98 fall. That was completed last turn, so that base is now complete. Interesting to note. So a little bit of base construction. There's a base being built in the top left corner here that'll be completed this turn. And that's to be able to facilitate the further and final exploration of all that gray hexed out space up there, which is good. And if I bring the ships back, we can see that just an unrelenting barrage of ships hitting that unexplored line of fog of war hexes and just trying to push exploration around the corner. Based on what I see here, I just don't see a way for the Lyrans to be able to, and nor are they seemingly interested in trying to get to the west, like the fully block off the west. If I read my tea leaves properly, it looks like the Klingons are coming down the west coast. The ISC will be coming down the east coast. And somewhere between the Lyrans and the Carnarvon will be coming down the center. So all these 4 factions are coordinating their attacks or coordinating their movements in such a way that they are coming down in a the force of gravity is pulling them down to the factions below. We shall see. We shall see. All right. So this is the Klingon faction. Just as a quick run around the periphery here, exploration in the top right corner. Virtually nothing militaristically other than those crippled ships on the border with the Carnarvon, or the line in the sand, shall we say, with the Carnarvon. No official borders as of yet. Klingons are doing their thing here. There's Red Fleet, West Fleet. I'm curious. Red Fleet. Duras. Of course Duras is red. Oh, that's an exploration ship. And then West Fleet. Oh, Malevolence. There's the D6M. Ha! Found you. D6M. West Fleet. Where are you, West Fleet? West Side. F4s. There we go. So there's a bunch of ships in this area that are just basically doing a whole bunch of exploration, making their way down into this area, and slowly but surely will, I guess, explore all this fog of war hexes and so on and so forth. Like I say, it'll be very interesting to see how this all sort of evolves with time, and how these factions play nice. Let's slide across and talk about the green goblins of our goblins, the Carnarvon, otherwise the space werewolves of the game. We can see them in their green and yellow prolifery. We have a Wolf Pack 4. I'm just going to work on from the west to the east, and then go back to where all the real ships are, which is in the south. So this will be relatively quick. Okay, so Wolf Packs. Here we are, Wolfpack 4, 1, 2, 3. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, a coffee has been fired. It is time to take a sip. I will beverage until I see it pop up in the chat. You too could beverage as well. Don't be shy. Klingons drinking Kaplager. Yes. Well, thank you for your beverage support. All right, so 96F is next turn unless the broadcast is from the future. 98F, sorry, 90. Oh, yes, of course, yeah, that's turn 66. We're currently talking about 65, so not this turn, next turn. My apologies. All right, where were we? Wolfpack 4. Wolfpack 4 is a destroyer and a total of 5 frigates. So the frigates that the Ferals forgot. My alliteration is horrible. But nonetheless, you can see there's a little guy there. Wolfpack 3 wasn't much bigger, and it's in the north here. We've got Sapphire Fleet and Den Fleet. Very curious. Let's take a look at what Sapphire and Den Fleet. I have bad memories of Den Fleet from my previous encounter with another Carnarvon player in New Worlds, which was the game before. It looks like nothing much here. We got a cruiser, a drone bombardment cruiser, a tug, and other little stuff going on here. Nothing too crazy. If we go to the east side, we can see that it's all about New York. We got lots of exploration going on in the top right-hand corner. Continued exploration in the bottom left, or bottom right corner, I should say. Top right, bottom right. Lots of exploration one way or the other. And other than that, not too much is changing. Now let's focus on the major focal point of the Carnarvon military. That is right here. So Wolfpack 6, just to bring back those Wolfpack numbers. Wolfpack 6. Is it wrong that I get so distraught when I look at these? Disappointed, depressed? Okay, so we have a command cruiser, and we have a total of 5. 5? No. Yeah, 5. 5 cruisers here. 3 non-crippled, 2 crippled. We have 4 crippled light cruisers. We have a number of destroyers, some of which are crippled. 3 of the 6 are crippled. Is that right? 3 of the 5 are crippled, excuse me. A drone bombardment destroyer, and then a collection of frigates. 7 of them. All right. Then we have Ruby and Home Fleet and Diamond Fleet. Let's not forget all these fleets. Okay, so let's go to Ruby. Then we will go to Diamante, which is my version of Diamond, obviously. All right, so that's Ruby and Diamond. They're there. And, Diamond's over here, excuse me. And then what's the other one? Home. Take me home. All right, here we go. All right, so we got in Lima 14, we have Ruby and Home Fleet. So we have a total of, dear God, 13 plus another 13. 26 frigates. 26 frigates. Jesus. 3 destroyers, a total of 4 drone bombardment cruisers between the two of them, a total of 4 cruisers, a DN, and a command cruiser just in Lima 14. Just Lima 14. A Diamond fleet has a command cruiser, destroyer, collection of 11 frigates, 5 drone bombardment cruisers, and 2 commando ships. So not a small fleet, you might say. Dear God, man. And as you can see, they are aligning themselves right on the edge of this space. Now, you will notice these white ones here. And I'll raise those in a second as to what happened and how those occurred. But I digress. I will head over to the ISC, round out with the Lyrans, and then we'll have a little chit chat, and then we'll talk about the Borak. All right, so the ISC, as you can see here, I'll slide my head to the other side, even though I'm not really obstructing too much here. You can see the ISC are puttering away. They've got this little errand auxiliary battle cruiser, Raider, here. They have a couple of cruiser and a destroyer that are in the vicinity, but haven't actually connected with the Raider. We've got a crippled frigate here. Interesting to note. Wonder where that came from. The Wormhole has 2 frigates guarding it. Obviously, these guys went down to try and deal with the Raider. The Raider moved, and the orders were not perhaps targeted towards the Raider. We go down here. We've got base, a convoy, a hospital, a converted hospital ship with. Anytime you're ready, come on now. 2 frigates, a light cruiser, and a base, and then of course here. Oh my God! Look at all these. Okay, so oh geez. It is very challenging to be able to go through the list of ships here. Let's consolidate them, shall we? ISC, named echelons. Okay. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. Okay, so Enforcement Fleet is 2 ships. Justice Fleet is 1 ship. So it's 3 plus... Oh, hold on, come back. Plus Judgment and Law. So Law is the biggest of those. It has a total of 5 ships, and Justice is 1. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 ships plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so that we're at 21 plus home and 7th. Home, there's 7th, and home fleet, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So there's 26 ships total here, which is a pretty good number. When you put it all together, 26 ships is a good number, and that's a good fleet right there. They can basically go out and pound anything they want to, relatively speaking. Now, interesting. So I got 2 tugs there. Oh, there's a tug with 9 EP making its way. And there'll be another tug, I imagine. And then we got 10th and all these other survey fleets happening there. Okay, so that is the ISC. Let's quickly talk about the Lyrans, because they're very sort of leaning in one direction, and then we can go from there. So we've got exploration happening on this border with the Klingons right up in the top corner here. Not much else anywhere else on the west. The west is basically barren other than the survey contingent doing what it's doing. In the south, we've got, looks like a concentration of surveying. So 2 survey ships and a small exploration freighter. A tug, which has completed a YDK here. And then 2 commercial convoys have left. 1 for the Federation, 1 for the Romulans. Interesting to note that this commercial convoy is heading to the Romulans. Let's just take away the ships for a second. The Romulans... Oh, I'll take away the bases too. The Romulans still hateful. Excuse me. They hate the Lyrans. So there is no trade that's going to happen until this goes to indifferent. And while there may be... Oh, but look, Tony, there's another planet there that's indifferent. This is considered one collection of... one empire, and I had this discussion with the GM, and so this indifferent doesn't really matter much because again, there's no YDK there. There's a YDK here. So in order to do the trade, you need to go to the YDK, and they hate you as far as the Lyrans. They hate the Lyrans or are hostile to the Lyrans, which is going to make it very difficult. I would imagine the diplomat can maybe get there and they can improve attitudes with them before that happens. And if they can get it down to indifferent, then there can be trade, and we'll see how that goes. Or the Lyrans will do what they were going to do before and just militarily clobber them and go from there. I'm surprised, actually, they haven't done that yet. I would have expected with the fleets in this area that they would have just stomped on the Romulans and sort of sweep aside that issue. It's more cost-effective as far as EP gained, and you don't have to worry about the trade. Trade only gives you 0.5, whereas the default EP for a medium planet is 2, and plus 1 for this planet here. So that's 3 EP right there. That's economically, that makes more sense in my mind. And you can conduct the war over a couple turns, or the bombardment over a couple turns, so you don't actually have to lose any ships. Interesting. Okay, so we've got troop transport, Night Roar, a frigate, a cruiser, and a diplomat. Let's look at Night Roar. So Lyran. Oh, where am I going to find Night Roar? Nope. There it is. Boom. Night Roar. Night Roar looks to be a collection of crippled ships, 4 DDs to be exact, and they're just sitting there getting repaired. Other than that, what do we see here? We've got Silver Moon, which is obviously the elderly component of the Lyran fleet. They're sending their senior citizens forward to be able to engage the Borak in some way, shape, or form. Silver Moon is a light cruiser and a frigate, as we can see here. Not too significant, and then 2 ships here. Interesting to note, if you'll see, the Lyran ships are on these resources, but they can't claim them because they have no supply to those hexes. But they've just taken them to deny them from the Borak, which is interesting. Home fleet, as you can see here, Lyran home fleet, this is where the meat is. Look at this. 1 heavy dreadnought, 3 command cruisers, 3 heavy cruisers, 15 light cruisers. Holy Dinah. 15. Are you kidding me? Jeez Louise. Now, so light cruisers, whatever, but they are 3 attack and 5 defense. Coffee has been fired. Here we go. So light cruisers, that's 15 of those bad boys. 15 of those, and then 16 frigates. That's 31 ships just in the light cruisers and frigates alone. Plus you got, again, another 10 other ships. So this is a fleet of, what was it? 41 ships? 41 ships. 41 ship fleet. In my mind, that's a fleet designed to be able to go take out this planet. I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised. After all the chatter, I'm surprised the Lyrans just don't take that mammoth fleet, and considering there is no offensive threat from the Borak because of their pivot, I would just take out these Romulan factions and take them. But obviously there's something else going on there. We'll see. All right, let's go to the chat real quick and celebrate that coffee. Ooh, Kaplaga survivors. My bum is Stovo. Oh my goodness. That must have been Dell who fired that one. Somebody with a sense of humor. All right. Ooh. Once defeated, planet becomes different. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So very exciting how things are evolving here. As you saw, the coalition of northern factions have built copious sized fleets. If you count the Carnarvon, the ISC, the Lyrans, and the Klingons, they dwarf anybody else as far as their total fleet count. Just for an example, when we look at the fleet cap numbers, and remember, call it to the community, let's see that graph as far as where all those attack and defense factors are, or even ship equivalents. So the Carnarvon have 158 ships. The ISC have 64. The Lyrans have 85, which is, if you put those together, we'll call it 150. So that's 150 plus 158. That's 308, approximately. So 308, 309, I think, actually. No, regardless. This is called 308. 308, that's the Lyrans, the IC. And then you add the Klingons to that. And the Klingons have 108 ships, was it? So that's 416 ships, give or take. 415 ships, maybe, that they have total. Then you count the southern factions, and we won't count the Borak in this because technically they're not a southern faction yet. But if we look at the southern factions, we got the Hydrons, the Tholians, the Paravians. So just those three, right? So the Tholians have 81 ships. The Hydrons have 70, so that's 151, plus the Paravians with 37 ships. So that's 188 ships. For the bottom three factions, 188 ships, plus the Kzinti with 65. Okay, so 188 takes us to 253. And then you add the Federation with 76. So we had 253, 259, 329. 329 versus over 415 ships. That's the balance. That doesn't include the Borak, but the Borak are, they're being displaced. So when you look at that balance, what's that going to mean, and how is that going to factor into the game? Not only and add into that as another wrinkle, the Lyrans, the Paravians, the Lyrans, the Carnarvon, and the ISC, and the Borak have all been at war turns for in excess of 5 turns. So if that's the case, what's this going to look like when it's all said and done? When the war is complete and the territory conquered, how many war turns will have been expended? And how much war fatigue will they be burning off? Will that put them in a vulnerable position? Or will their fleets be so massive it won't make a difference? We'll have to see how this all sort of works its way out, one way or another. Okay, so graphs are posted on Discord. We'll talk about that in our next episode when I have a chance to bring them into the live stream. But if you would like to take an early look at those graphs and see how everything's going, then you can head over to that coffee QR code or the link in the corner or posted in the chat pinned at the top. You can head over to coffee.com/New Worlds and join us in our Coffee and Discord tier, and then you can join our Discord channel. Check out that information, the latest and greatest, the banter back and forth, the narrative stories for the role play, and how things are evolving. You too can join us there and be part of our community on Discord. Now, let's dive into the southern part of the map and talk about what is going on with our good friends, shall we say, Big Red. Here we go. All right. So here we are, Big Red, the Tholian faction, in the bottom left corner of the map. So we can see here that they are continuing to explore on the various edges of their territory. If I take away the ships real quick, you can see we are upgrading this YDK into this base into a YDK, which completes this turn 65. Other than that, no other base construction in progress. We bring the ships back. We can see that we have, again, just exploration going along. We have 101st Battle Squadron. Tholians have an interesting naming scheme for some of their stuff. So the 101st is this one down, or this one up here. That looks like 2 cruisers. Is it 2 cruisers? 2 cruisers, 2 destroyers, 4 destroyers, excuse me. So 4 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and probably 6 YPCs, which are in the vicinity here. The garrisons, which are another interesting uniqueness of the Tholians. You can see the first garrison, survey ship, which is positioned here. 3 CPCs, which are probably conducting that upgrade, and a large exploration freighter with an escort destroyer. 4th, 312th, which are these guys here, Battle Squadron, 1 cruiser, 4 destroyers, and a patrol craft in this vicinity here on this planet. And there's these guys buzzing about in various corners up and down and all around. So not too much going on here other than the continued exploration. That's where the on the 4X spectrum, that's where the Tholians are. They're all about exploration trying to exploit those resources they find. No extermination as of yet. I'm noticing the loss or the disappearance of that space cloud. So do tell, what happened with the space cloud? What happened? What were the results? Where did it go? What did you get from it? If you beat it up, let's find out. All right, let's slide over to our friends in green. And let me slide my head over. That is the hedrons, the tetrahedrons. All right, so we've got continued exploration. Again, this is the X of the 4X that they are focusing on. Pushing into the west. Interesting. So if I take away, we have the Tau. That's a Warhammer 40K reference. Vudar faction, planet of Tau. They are unhappy, apparently, with the Hydrants. Not playing nice with their neighbors. Bases have been constructed, as you can see here, facilitating access to... I can't see the name of that quite. It looks like Ocus. But either way, that's where that is sitting. And I imagine as they continue to explore, bringing ships back, once we have exploration along these lines, you're going to see base construction along this border, really reinforcing it. And if I was the Hydrons, maybe preparing for a sprint into this side of the territory. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, if the Paravians, with the ships that they have, pivot to deal with the Borak for whatever reason, that will leave them vulnerable, and the Hydrons could take advantage of that if they so chose. Not that I'm implying that they should do anything, but it's interesting because that tactic, of course, was used when it came to the Lyrans, the Carnarvon, and the ISC with regards to the Borak. So certainly an effective strategy. It's just a matter of how you want to execute. Excuse me. All right, let's look at the northern reaches. As you can see here, we've got a base. Let me see. Base construction. Yes. Completing in 98 spring. This YBS will be completed this turn. And then we have exploration fleets continuing to explore. You can see colony just newly discovered, and of course more fleets pushing north. It'll be very interesting to see once this base is complete. Interesting, they went 2 hexes. When they complete this base, how far and how quickly they reach up into the space relative to the Federation. And then once they bump into each other, what's that going to look like when it comes to their interactions? On a macro level, just as an idea here, let me pull out. I'm going to move my head to the other side here in a second. Slide over. So when we look at this big map, right? And we can see the big factions at the top, which is, of course, the Klingons, the top left, the Carnies, the ISC. And you look at the bottom. Not to say this is the way it should be, but an interesting strategy could be if the Hydrants come up the right side and the Tholians come up the left side, then at the very least, you could potentially have 4 factions lined up to oppose the southern creep of the 4 factions in the top that are seemingly colluding together. Interesting. So just as an idea, when you look at this map, what it is that could happen as far as how this all aligns. Because otherwise, you're going to have the Kzinti and the Federation being the focal point of the aggression, potentially, of Carnarvon, Lyran, ISC, and Klingon forces combined, if that's how that works out. And it's just easier if you've got more sort of friends, to be able to oppose or repel that potential invasion. So we'll see how that goes. Just an idea. All right, let's zoom back in and move my head to the other side. So that's our friends with the Lyrans, the Hydrants. The Hydrants have not really engaged in any further, what do you want to call it? Any other further trade, even though they got the Gorn over here, which they are friendly with. They've got, I feel like there's at least another faction out there. No, it looks like there's 3. There's the Gorn in the east, the Vudar in the west, and then the Remans in the south. And they've successfully done the, done the trade there. Interesting that there's, while they are happy plus, there is, this minor planet is developing. Looks like there might have been a revolution of some type there. Interesting to note. Right, so that's how this is sort of all panning out. Interesting to note also 2 R&D teams on the Hydran homeworld. I'll be curious to know what they are doing. Right, so let's talk about our good friend, the Paravians. I will come back to this when it comes to the Borak in a moment. I seem to have misplaced the bases. There we are. So when we look at this map, obviously we see this little incursion of blue in the corner. What do we see? Let's look around. So let's start from the blue and work our way around. We've got a bunch of exploration freighters, large ones. We've got this base being completed this turn. So that YBS will be completed this turn. Interesting to note. You've got... That's interesting. Couple cruiser here, a tug here. Obviously, I think these guys were exploring and helping with building maybe bases. This cruiser up here, again, along with prime teams, this is all part of the exploration strategy. Another tug over in the corner here. Looks like they are completing a base. Yeah, 98 Spring, that's this turn. This is completing a base. YSR doing exploration stuff. You've got a Dreadnought, very nice. Got a Dreadnought here doing exploration. They're almost, basically, they're as effective as a survey ship with a prime team, that is. Cruiser with a prime team doing its business. Large exploration freighters. We have a small exploration ship has discovered a Romulan a Romulan planet that is hostile to the Paravians. So that's interesting to note. Small exploration freighter in the south, large ones in the west, small one here, and that's basically it. We have Eagle Fleet, which is still pre-positioned to be able to do what I anticipated was the Solar Fleet attacks. Let's take a quick look at what's happening with Rieman's Solar Fleet. Oh, no, that's not what I want to look at. I want to look at the Paravian Eagle Fleet. Eagle Fleet, here we go. So Eagle Fleet, if we take a look here, is a total of 14 frigates and 4 cruisers. So not a small fleet at all. And especially with this YDN in the neighborhood, if this YDN came down and paired up with Eagle Fleet, they could do some serious damage on Solar if they wanted to. So another cruiser, another DN could join Eagle Fleet, and they could really do some damage. Let's take a look at the minor factions and just see what that might look like. Minor fleets, here we are. Oh my goodness, look at all these fleets. Okay, so we're looking for... Oh, it's Riemann, right? So Solar. So this is... Oh man, I can't even zoom in. There's so much here. Okay, so Solar Fleet. We've got a Dreadnought, 6.8. Command Cruiser, 4.6. Another Cruiser, 4.6. Total of 4 destroyers, 6 frigates, a convoy. So this is not an overly large fleet. But in addition to that, they have 4 planetary ground bases and a YBS. I would argue... If I'm the Paravians, I'm gonna move and take this out ASAP, and then retro my ships to a place where I can repair them, and then strat move them. Yeah, I would if I'm the Paravians, I'm attacking this turn, in my opinion. But we'll see. What else we got? We got ISC captured frigate here. Looks like it's being reverse engineered. Tug. Looks like it's upgrading YDK here. Let's see, YDK 98F. So that'll complete in turn 68. There was a slight correction that was made on the map. There was a base, I want to say in Charlie 54 right here that had been destroyed. And as a result, all the ships that kind of strategically moved in this direction focused here. So we got Falcon Fleet and a bunch of ships here. Where are we? Falcon Fleet. Okay, so Falcon Fleet is a single cruiser with three frigates. And move that out of the way. And then we have another 2 cruisers, excuse me. So there's a total of 3 cruisers. Please just show me. There we are. 3 cruisers total, 5 frigates, and a prime team, plus a YBS. That is what is on this hex right here. So that's what's going on there. Looks like it's an interesting combination. And then, of course, you've got the party in blue crashing in through the window here. We will save them to the very last. But nonetheless, that is the Paravian situation. They have a total of 37 ships. I think that was the magic number. And as you can see, the Paravian, 37 ships, right? The majority of their compot is in Eagle Fleet and this DN over here. Because, actually, bring back fleet cap for a second. We can look at the distribution of their fleets here. So, oh my goodness. So, if we see Eagle Fleet right here, Eagle Fleet has a total of 18 ships in it with a 44 attack, 66 defense. That's 18 ships out of 37. Then if you add in the DN and the CA, which is in that neighborhood, that's another 2 ships. So it's 20 ships with a total compot. It's another 10 attack factor. So that's 54, 78. So 20 ships of their 37 are down there. That makes it, for all intents and purposes, half of their total firepower is in the east. They've got a couple of other little ships up here, like a couple cruisers, 2 cruisers and a tug, and a frigate up in this area over here. You got a frigate down here with a diplomat and a bunch of the little things down here. But generally speaking, that's sort of like how things are looking on the Paravian side. Let's take a look at our good friends, not Big Blue, the boys in blue, rather. And this is the Federation. So the Federation, as you can see, has broken through, or nearly broken through to the other side, with the Paravians. They're about to make contact. They've sort of made contact, but they don't have a clear path as of yet for trade. You can see here there is a YDK with some frigates as support. More than enough to be able to fend off a cruiser. Maybe if there were more than one cruiser, maybe 3 of these bad boys, that would be different, but nonetheless. We've got exploration and expeditionary fleets doing their business in the east, sort of competing or getting close to competing with the Hydrants. Whether there is or is not a tacit agreement between these 2 factions, we don't know. As we scroll up the side, we can see more exploration fleets supported with tugs and base construction. Am I losing my mind? Is there a second base being constructed here? This seems very strange. Why are we building 2 bases here? This seems like a waste of resources. Qu'est-ce qui arrive, mon ami? New fleet, 4th fleet, 10th fleet, 9th fleet, all of these guys, exploration fleets doing their thing. As we go down here, we have Task Force Rady. I always like the feds with their little task force names here. 4 light cruisers sitting there on the homeworld. We've got a couple frigates, a light cruiser, and a cruiser sitting on the wormhole. I'd recommend they upgrade that to a YDK PDFQ, considering what we're seeing in the north. As we go around the top, we can see Task Force Stalker and Costnet. Now, I took a quick look at these just before we went live, and here we are, Stalker and Costnet. So these 2 groups together, when you look at the cruiser as the command ship, basically this is an entire task group that the cruiser can support. The cruiser has a command factor of 8. You add that to 3 light cruisers, 4 frigates, that's 7, 8, 9 plus the cruiser. So that's all that cruiser can command going into this hex, not including the frigate there. If the frigate's there, then that can all be commanded by the YDK. So that's all there. So it's a good sort of task group to be able to defend this. Not that there's much offensive risk or sort of risk offensively from the Lyrans at this point. They're sending a commercial convoy down, so it looks like trade is in the future. We shall see. As we scroll around here, we've got relatively low numbers of units and fleets. Oh, look, we've got a DN in this area. And looks like the diplomat is working its magic with the Romulans here. They are no longer hateful, just unhappy. So slowly but surely they're making progress. And this commercial convoy, once it gets here, if things are more copacetic, then they can establish a trade route, which would be good. Yeah, that's pretty much it at this point. We got Dreadnought over here doing exploration and helping to facilitate that. Not too much else going on there from the Federation side. Lastly, let me move my head to the other corner, and we've got the Kzinti. So the Kzinti, ooh, interesting. So friendly with the Vudar in the north, continuing to I don't say aggressively, but enthusiastically survey and expand up here. If we take away the ships real quick, we can see YDK. Oh, yeah, some good YDK building up here. I like it. We got a tug with 10 EP heading perhaps over here to finally convince the Gorn to join, because in Prince Fleet they have a ship with a diplomat, which is doing all the diplomatic things, trying to sway them, woo them, romance them a little bit. After all, I mean, when you hear a kitty cat purr in your ear, how relaxing is that? And what else we got? We got in the south, we have Kzinti fleets continuing to do their exploration and moving to be able to expand out to their borders. Olympus fleet had creeped into Tholian space and then back to the other side. Looks like they're continuing to explore the neutral zone. And lots of tug action going on here. There'll be some more base building, I'm sure, in the turns to come. Golith? What is that? Kzinti, come here. Golith. What is Golith? Oh, let's go down the list. I'm sure it'll make sense to me once I find it. So we got Patriarch, Prince, Duke, Count, Baron, Marquis, Earl, Knight, Constable, Goliath. Here we are. Brain. That's what happens when you don't drink coffee anymore. It messes with my sharpness. So 2 and 3 EP respectively, Goliath has. Maybe they're going to be helping with this conversion of the Gorn over to the Kzinti. It'll be very interesting if they get that medium planet. That's a 4 EP boost to their economy. That'll be really good. The Kzinti, especially for their footprint, they're pound for pound, like they're hitting above their weight economically, all things considered. They're doing very, very well. Okay, so that is, let's slide back to the chat and see where you are at. All right. Daniel Eastland says that double base is a copy and paste error. Okay, so copy and paste error. Boom. Got it. What else we got in the chat? Let's jump in. Hello. There it is. Boom. Okay. So let's see where we're at. I'm going to pick it up from when the Kaplaga, the last coffee that was fired. Here we are. So Lost Muskrat says, graphs are posted on the Discord. Like I said, if you are interested, head over to the Discord channel. If you don't know how to do that, the pinned link in the chat will get you to our Coffee and Discord. Let me try that. We'll take you to our coffee channel or coffee page where you can then subscribe or become a member with the Coffee and Discord tier that will get you to Discord. And then you can check that out there. Be part of our community on Discord. Be part of the next game when it comes up and it starts getting rolling. And, of course, all things exciting, banter, and roleplay-wise. What else we got here? Del, Paul, you out there today? Both of them saying yes. For George says, wow, what a plot twist. The Borak through the wormhole? Nobody saw that coming. An attempted total relocation of an empire never before attempted. Actually, that's true as far as I can tell. I don't know of any game that we've ever played, granted, handful of games, but no one's ever tried to totally relocate or transplant themselves, so to speak. We've had sort of like branches of or pockets of empires, but still based from the homeworld. Certainly, if we're taking George's thought process to the extreme, you could see that the depending on what happens, the Borak could in a Battlestar Galactica kind of way, they could find a new homeworld, colonize that homeworld or that new planet, and make that their new home. They could certainly do that. There's a lot of costs that go along with transplanting your home world, like you lose all your slipways and everything else. There's a whole bunch that goes into that, but it's an option, and certainly a good insurance policy. And depending on how the war between the Carnarvon, Lyrans, and IC plays out and how that all balances out, we will have to see. But as it is right now, there is a very concerted effort to be able to establish a plan B, shall we say. And that is what's going on. What else we got? George says, the Borak could become the LDR of the avian empires. Interesting option. The motto of the story is always guard your entrances. Fact. Now, granted, I will say for the Paravians, like give them their due. They came across that wormhole late. When they did discover it, they got there and started to build a base. And it just so happened that because of the way things were going, the Borak attacked before the base was complete. And, that's where we're at. So they did try and plug that hole. They just didn't do it quickly enough. Big slow target. Always guard your entrances. Gee, sounds like a good idea. Tony, did you ever find a derelict? No. Could he have been aiming for a different wormhole? Could he have been aiming for a different wormhole? What do you mean by that, big slow target? Do you mean like I was aiming for a different wormhole, or the Paravians were? Not exactly clear on what you mean by that, but feel free to let me know. All right, let's jump into the map and let's talk about how things are going for the Borak. All right. As if you haven't taken a moment to hit that thumbs up, then please feel free to do so as I'm looking here and I can see that we've got 15 of you guys watching live right now. So thank you very much. Hit that thumbs up button, make that likes in the double digits. That would be great. Tickle the ivories or the YouTube algorithm in just the way that it likes. All right, let's take a look here at the Borak. So a couple things to note. One, as we talked about the ISC in this top corner, the movement of the Lyrans into this sort of bottom area, they've sort of denied access to the resources for the Borak, which is frustrating. But they can't actually leverage it themselves until they have fixed supply in that area. So the way they would get fixed supply at this point would be basically building a base. That's probably the easiest, fastest way to be able to do stuff that'll also help support them in their sort of move forward. Or another option would be to take these Romulan planets, because if they take the Romulan planets, and assuming they have force supply, because if you'll note, so here's something to note. 1, 2, 3, 4. They must have force supply if these ships are in supply here, because they got 2 tugs, and I imagine they're going to do extended supply. So the Lyrans must have force supply at this point. A recent development for sure. But if they took out these 2 planets or like conquered them, then they'd have a straight line to this resource, which would be 4 hexes away. Not only that, but when they eventually gain supply through these planets, they can then get supply to everything else on the other side. Like I say, it's just logistically, let's smooth out that speed bump and just get it done ASAP. You will have noticed a couple of things up here. So when you conquer a planet and it doesn't have military units on it, then it has the possibility of reverting to its original owner. And this is in the rules. This is something that came up in sort of our last game. And so there were 2 bases on these 2 planets, which was sort of establishing and maintaining the peace, but I dismantled them last turn because there's this strange mass of green ships here that will just steamroll and destroy everything that's over there. So got some EP for those. But as a result, as you can see here, the colony was lost due to subterranean dwellers. It looks like they've formed a militia group, and a planetary ground base has been established. And then the planet here, which was a former Gorm planet, has established itself with a small auxiliary freighter, like a military freighter. So it's a 1 attack, 4 defense. And they've liberated themselves. So those 2 planets, which were at the time 1 point each, have gone independent. And so they are no longer part of the Borak economy. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 EP that was lost this turn for a variety of reasons. However, as you can see, this section of space seems a little empty. There's not a lot going on here, which is interesting. Not a lot of ships in this area. Where did they all go? Oh, yeah, that's right. They went to the Paravian pocket, shall we say, and that's right here. So the Paravian pocket has, as you can see, a YSR here, a YSR here. They're going to do some surveying. And just a bunch of little ships that went out and conquered some space here and took over, just took some space and some resources along the way. If we take away the ships real quick, you can see that we took a total of 5 hexes, which just balances out the 4 we lost, so with a gain of 1. So that makes the difference there. You can see that we're in the midst of building a base that'll be completed, let's see here, next turn. And away we go. So, and then of course there's a lot of stuff here. We've got 3 major fleets, blue, red, and white dragon. A couple of errand ships. There's also Takhisis fleet, which is here, along with a combination of 4 different tugs, there's a lot of tugs. 4 different tugs, military convoy, a survey ship there, and with the prime team, and then of course Takhisis fleet. So if we look at this collection of fleets real quick, what are the Borak doing? Well, we got red, we got blue, right? Blue? Yeah, blue, red, and white. Borak, white. So this is red is over here. Blue is where that tug is right there, so we'll put that there. White is just down here. So this is the collection of ships that we have in the area, and then of course there's Takhisis fleet here. So what does this all mean? Let's look at fleet cap, and maybe we can get a little insight. So let's close out the Paravian tab. Look at the Borak tab. So you can see Red Dragon has a total of 16 ships. It has a 46 attack, 78 defense. Blue, that was Red Dragon. Where's Blue Dragon? Blue Dragon has 23 ships in it with a 47 attack, 92 defense. That's the one with the vulture in it. And then White Dragon has 11 ships in it with 24, 48 respectively. Takhisis is in there somewhere. It has 14 ships with 21, 57 respectively. So you can see there's some significant numbers of ships. Anyway, if we add that all together, that's 11, 25, 31, 41, 64 odd ships in this little pocket here, not including the singles. So to put that into context, that's more ships than the Paravians have total. The Paravians have 37 ships, and there's 60 plus here. The Borak have a total of 86 total ships. And so 3/4 of their fleet or more is in this little pocket right here. So if there was ever an idea that this is a push and that they're going to try and hold this is good. Also, what's interesting to note here is when the attack does come from the big push that is between the Lyrans and the Carnivon specifically, not including the IC in this context, just because of this, we're talking about this little area right here. So this wormhole, obviously defended with a YDK, but if they take the wormhole, I don't know what their tech is with regards to wormhole transit, but if they have the best and, full wormhole transit capabilities, if they were to try and transit the wormhole, then once a base is established here, then we can, like the Borak, can defend this wormhole much more easily and effectively than if they were trying to defend themselves versus, let's say, the onslaught of ships that are coming from the Carnivon or the Lyrans respectively. So if you're transiting, if their transit technology, like just to give you a sense, for the R&D, at some point you can get unlimited amounts of ships, but depending on what their technology is, the early parts of being able to get supply through wormholes, you only have like a small number, like 3 or 4, or even as much as I think 8 ships per turn. And actually, I'll look it up. Let's see here, wormhole tech. So in wormhole tech, the maximum ships that you can transit per battle round is 8. That's the maximum. Once you have, the maximum is 12. My mistake. The maximum is 12. But when you hit MTech, that's the equivalent of MTech in wormhole technology, you can transit 8 ships. Prior to that, it's 4 ships, 3 ships, and 2 ships, and then 1 ship. So assuming that they can transit as many as, let's say, they haven't hit MTech yet. Let's say they can transit 8 ships per battle round. Depending on what ships they're bringing through, if you can create enough damage in a battle round, you can essentially annihilate the ships coming through because they can't do much to you. You have control of the burr. You can do a maximum burr of 10 as they come through the wormhole, and you can just unload on them and do directed damage on specific ships. So if you wanted to destroy, let's say, a command ship that's coming through the wormhole, you can hit it unless it's in formation bonus, and even then it's 2-1. Or other ships at 1-1. So there's just a lot of advantages being on the defensive side of a wormhole than the offensive side. And depending on how this all sort of pans out, when it comes to the economy stuff, the advantages of being on this side of the wormhole allows the Borak potentially to survive, at least from the Carnarvon, Lyran, and ISC assault. The Paravians is a whole nother kettle of fish, ball of wax, pick your metaphor. That's a whole nother situation. And it'll be very interesting to see how this evolves because, for example, we talked about the Paravians having over 50% of their military might closer to my head on the eastern side. What do they have in this neck of the woods? Right now they have this, which remember is a total of 3 cruisers and 5 frigates and a base. Do you think that will be enough to stop that pocket of ships? At least not this battle round. I mean, maybe if they had more, but if the Borak are going to continue to push into this area of space, I don't see that fleet being enough to stop anything. We'll have to see what happens, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. So there's significant potential here to see how this goes. I mean, I'm very interested to see how this plays out as we go forward. We'll call this the Battlestar Galactica fleet, and then there's the homeworld area, so to speak, when it comes to the Borak. So let's slide back into the chat and see what you all think about that. All right, let's talk about the chat. What are people saying? I see some chit chat. Okay, so Big Slow Target says the Klingon Empire has mentioned that wormholes might not be as stable or go exactly where they are supposed to all the time. We figured we had ours plugged with a YDK, but found it is now actually at unfortunately this little button thing. So actually at a wormhole with the YDK, but found it is not actually at the wormhole. So now there is a bigger fleet there. Okay. Yeah, so wormholes, over the course of the game, as random events, wormholes can transform from two-way wormholes to one-way wormholes. They can relocate, so they can move or disappear completely. So there's lots of strange options here. If the wormhole in Paravian space, the one that connects Borak and Paravian space, were to somehow change or disappear or even move, that would be a huge pain in the butt. It would logistically screw up everything. But once the base is complete on the Paravian side of the wormhole, it's less of an issue because the kinetic mass of ships is already on that side of the wormhole at this point. And there will be enough EP to support them, assuming the base is complete and there's enough stuff there. So, yeah, we'll just have to see how this goes. There's a combination of like logistical support and how that's all going to work. It's a very sort of convoluted, interesting series of events, and we'll have to see how this evolves over time. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Will the Borak? We talked about sort of the ragtag convoy of ships making its way through space, a la Battlestar Galactica, and that they're being chased by the Cylon-esque Carnarvon, Lyran, and ISC factions. But now they've sort of gone into this new area of territory, and they're they're confronting or rubbing up against the Paravians. How is that going to work out? How is that going to resolve? How are things going to happen? I don't know. We will have to see how this evolves over time. But there is a strong likelihood that the Paravians are not going to be amicable to us doing what we're doing, because why would they be? If the Borak are able to relocate and establish a new homeworld, there are some planets sort of in proximity to that wormhole that they could do that. Yeah. To be fair, there is sort of a lot that sort of, I'm keeping my cards close to my chest in this regard. There are some ideas, strategies, tactics, and plans that we shall have to see evolve over the next couple turns. But certainly phase one of this plan has been successful, and Operation Market Garden has been highly effective at establishing a beachhead, which is what we've done now, and to be able to create a protected area where we can sort of survive for a period of time. How is this all going to evolve over the coming turns? We will have to see, and you will have to let me know what you think of it as you watch this unfold. So for today's episode, thank you again for all those who sent us coffee support. We hit 4 of 4 today. Maybe we'll go back to our 5. Number 5 is a live goal for next week. You let me know how that's going to go. So 5 coffees for next week. That'll be our goal. But what do you think about how things are going? What did you think of Kaplager? Was that a good advert? I mean, not as visually stimulating as perhaps some other things, but nonetheless, some excellent copy written by our GM, Daniel. Some good stuff there. And of course, these are all just fun things that we're creating in the context of the live stream. You can't actually buy Kaplager. Of course, maybe we should run a GoFundMe so we can actually commission a flat of Kaplager. Wouldn't that be fun, eh? I have a feeling there might be a little IP concern there when it came to the Klingon language, but we'll have to see. All that said, how did the audio work out? Was the audio good? I know there was some comment about the transitions being a little echoey. I will review that on the flip side and see what that sounds like and get a sense of where that sound is coming from. But with that said, here's a good test for you. At the very end, I'm going to turn off my speakers, put on my headphones, and let's see if this makes a difference. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for your time today. I will see you in the next episode next week. Same bad time, same Kapla channel, 11 o'clock, Saturdays. Come join us. We'll see you then. Ciao for now.